Hello, 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 hello. I think it's working. It's so hard to tell. Okay, today we're going to talk a little bit about abundance. Right now, we're having an abundance of heat. It's over 100. I think it's just 101, but that's over 100. And I think it's for the first time this season, 22, 2022. But I know it's not the last time for this season. Welcome to Texas. And the sun is out, 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 and it's even kind of breezy and hot. So there's an abundance of heat, and I don't do well with heat. Interesting point of view. I have that point of view, and so it's been um, a lot of life giving me a lot of opportunities to see how I resist abundance. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were like, "Well, why would you resist abundance?" I don't resist abundance, and I said, "Well, do you have? Um, does everything that you have delight you?" Well, no. And do you have everything that delights you? Well, no. And are there things that you resist? Oh, yeah, there's things I resist, all right. And so the more we were talking, the more it was becoming um, clear that we all have these different areas where it's not so much areas as it is beliefs and conclusions and decisions and definitions and assumptions. And all of those are barriers to receiving. So it makes it challenging to receive because the old cliche about once you let one what's that movie um, about a boy, Hugh Grant movie, and one of the lines towards the end or somewhere is, once you let one person in, you're sunk because you have to let everybody in. And that's the thing with barriers, is that when your barriers are up, then nothing can get in really. And we have this idea that we are semi permeable. So we'll let in the good stuff and not the bad stuff. But that's not the way energy works. Um, if you're going to resist, you have to judge. And if you're going to judge, you have to be out of awareness. You have to be out of your like bigger self. And you have to be into your body personality, invested point of view self. And once you're in your body personality self, you have slipped out of your infinite awareness, the part of you that has always been and that always will be. So if you're doing any kind of judgment, and if you're living in this society, you're doing judgment all the time, then you're stopping the flow. And that common idea that, oh, I don't want to accept this, but I do want to accept that. So I have acceptance over here. I have not acceptance like a problem you're having to accept, but acceptance like energy. Allowance, I guess, is a better word. Yeah. So I have allowance over here, and my kids can be however they are, and um, I'll understand. I'll get where they're coming from. But when my coworker does it, then it's a proof of how bad and wrong they are, or how arrogant, or how idiot, or whatever. So we have this idea, it's a false idea, but we have this persistent idea that we can be open in one area and closed in another. And that's not really how we work. That's not how we're wired. That's how the story of us is told, but that's not how we operate. So when you're allowing for a friend or family member to kind of step on your toes or be an idiot, but you love them anyway, that's one thing. And it all still takes a lot of judgment. And when you don't have allowance for the coworker that you don't like doing this exact same thing, then you're certainly socially justified for that. But it's the same energy of you have to judge. And in our the way most of us have been educated, judging or refined judgment or discernment are all like the one go-to thing for how to navigate living, which is really pretty funny. But I equate it to like the flathead screwdriver. And judging goes along with thinking. And this kind of thinking, this kind of judging thinking is really useful when you're building a bridge or when you're constructing something in the physical world, you're making something a tangible thing. Because when you're working with tangible materials, you have to discern, does this fit or not? And if it doesn't fit, do I need to move this thing? Do I need to move that thing? But life is not a problem to solve, and it's not a thing. It's life is this deliciously overflowing, bubbly, dynamic, um, way beyond our mental capacity to define or control with a K. And so, what does that have to do with abundance, Delia? Well, abundance is fertile. It's a lot of energy. It's like the original story of Lilith, which is just all kinds of um, generative fun and prolific and abundant and fertile, creative, constantly creating. And if you've ever been around a kid who's in that energy, it's really it can be tiring because there's so little of it in our everyday life. And we've kind of have the story that it's very little of it in our everyday life because it would be too tiring otherwise. And the funny thing is, the amount of resistance that it takes to navigate our adult lives or our regular life is tremendous. No wonder everybody's exhausted all the time because we're having to discern and resist all the time. I'll take this, but not that. I'll take this, but not that. I'll take this but not. And so, kind of the at rest place is no, resist. I don't know. I'm not going to do it. Right. And then what happens is that we become bereft because we're not connecting to all of the luscious flow that is available. So, usually around this point, I get a question about how, yeah, but you don't want to accept the horrible things, right? And you want to resist the horrible things. And you do and you don't. You do in the sense that you want to recognize it, right? You want to see that this is um, non-generative. This degenerates abundance and thriving and well-being and community and richness within you and without you and within interrelationships versus resistance, they're bad, I'm right and they're wrong, because then you end up in this kind of fight. If you put your two hands together and you push really, really hard. And what'll happen is that when you're really pushing hard, you really feel it in your palms, especially the heel of your palm. I do anyway, and in your arms. And if you really do it, you can feel your body shaking your arm shaking with the pressure of all of this resistance. And there's a lot of heat. I get a lot of heat. And so when you're in resistance, you're stuck to whatever you're resisting, like white on rice. See that? You can't leave the thing that you resist because you're in resistance to it. And so now just let go. You may notice like a coolness coming into your hands. You may notice like an ease. You may notice like a, sometimes it feels like a tiredness kind of waving up my arm as the muscles relax, kind of in a wave. And that sensation when I stop resisting is like a coolness and an absence. And a lot of times we're kind of culturally trained to be nervous about an absence. Oh, it's an emptiness. Oh, that's a bad thing. We have to fill it up. What if you don't have to fill it up? What if you just allow it? Allow, allow, allow. Now, what's a good visual? I'm a real visual body. So I think in terms of pictures, allowance is like, you know how the glass lets the light in? It lets the light come through. There's nothing in the window pane to stop the light coming through. And it doesn't choose what light particle is going to come through and which one's not, right? So we call that body of glass. So you're able to perceive everything that's going on, including the insane BS. And you're able to perceive it and not bite into it, not engage into it, not meet it with the same energy. Because the energy, the intensity of energy for something often is the same as against something. And whenever you're defending for and against, you're putting up all kinds of barriers because you're judging everything. So to really perceive the abundance that you live in, that's surrounding us all the time, it's really more about allowing, just barriers down, barriers down, barriers down, and allow, allow, allow. Now, it might include things like turning off a bunch of television sets and or the radio. Um, it could include things like exiting the situation, going outside and walking, you know, for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It could take changing where you are and what you're doing. And that's allowing you to be and to um, check in with you a little bit. And pretty much very little of the way our society operates encourages you to check in with you. So I will encourage you to check in with you and just take a few nice deep breaths and allow yourself to perceive. Could be seeing, could be hearing, could be smelling, could be touching. Allow yourself to perceive how much fullness there is around you in any given moment. One of the things that my body really likes is to just close your eyes for a moment and to just take some nice deep breaths. Like you have all the time and oxygen in the world. This very simple act of just breathing, just for a moment, less than 90 seconds, 2 minutes tops. Gives your body so much to be able to breathe like you have all the oxygen in the world that you need. You have more than enough. Will will set off a cascade of physiological biochemical responses in your body that facilitates your relaxing. You may notice your shoulders coming out of your ears. You may notice your breathing is easier. You may even notice that things get brighter. And that's when you're tapping into the abundance of right here, right now, and the miracles and magic of being you with this amazing body on this phenomenal planet at this incredible time. So great. So as you go through your day and there's hustling and bustling going on, I invite you to allow, and just take some nice deep breaths. And just notice how easily and effectively you can change your physical reality. 90 seconds or less. You have the power. Nobody else does. Thanks for checking in. I will see you later.